Morning, Midland, Texas. Got a Facebook post this morning that I wanted to share with you. It was kind of popular, and I think it's interesting concerning the Vice President Pence and the possible connection to the underground facility here, the alleged pedophile parties, the murder of the young girl, the capital attempt to murder my life, etc. And so you can see this on my Facebook. My Facebook's under buddy.web.353. And I'll expand this, and it's a short read here, so I'll just read it to you. Vice President Pence was in Midland earlier this year meeting with the leaders of the oil companies here, and I wondered if underground parties where they murder young girls who refuse to prostitute was mentioned on this visit. I'm sure the oil companies throwing these parties don't want the public to know the truth about the rapes and murders going on there. A few months later, I posted a story to my Facebook called Artesia Suspects, which was based on the recorded phone call from a woman that told me about the underground facilities and pedophile parties. She said it was connected with a person that lived in a town near Hobbs, New Mexico that started with an A. That town would be Artesia, and the richest person in New Mexico lives there, who sold this company for $1 billion to Concho Resources right here in Midland, Texas. 4 hours after I posted this story, Vice President Pence announces he was traveling to the tiny town of Artesia, New Mexico, all the while I live under a death threat after surviving a premeditated, for-profit capital attempted murder that corrupt police were involved in. This failed for-profit murder was followed by nightmarish medical crimes of intentional maiming, mutilation, and dismemberment. Even with undeniable proof, there has not been a single news story in the nation as the crimes have been allowed to continue day after day. And the news story was from politicsusa.com. Trump's Ukraine extortion scheme could bring down Mike Pence. Okay, and so I just shared that. That's a recent news story, and you see, I'll start at the top here. Okay, and I said Vice President Pence was in Midland earlier this year, meeting with the leaders of the oil companies here, and CBS 7 has an article on that. This is recent. We'll look at the date when it pops up here, and we're waiting on it. Okay. April 17th, this one it was. So this is actually Pence, and he is at a
Vice President Mike Pence paid a visit to West Texas today for an official visit and also for a fundraiser for the Donald Trump campaign.
CBS 7 Shane Battis listened to his speech to oil workers where he touted the president's victories and championed the Permian Basin's energy dominance.
All of you prove every day what hard work and ingenuity and American commitment to developing our resources can mean.
Now, I contacted President Trump before he was elected about the crime. These are unprecedented crimes, national headline news stories, and I mean, there was secret police, there was secret, for 6 years, first time in the history of America, and a crime victim offered a reward to identify police, triple proof of faked x-rays, multiple people saying that there's underground facility tunnels here, multiple people saying that, they're reporting people in the attic. That was my first call a year before I was shot with burglar alarms going off in my attic. These are huge stories, what's going on, and it's just been a huge unprecedented cover-up that's going on. And so I feel sure that President Trump and also Vice President Pence knows about this, and he even made our governor at the time when I shot was Rick Perry. He made him Secretary of Energy. Okay, and so. But all this happened when Obama was president, so this is not against the Republicans. I voted for Trump. I wanted to drain the swamp. I wanted to not live under a death threat. I wanted people to stop breaking into my home. I wanted justice to be served, but I sure haven't seen that happen. And I've more death threats than you can count since surviving being crippled in this murder attempt. And so I'll go on from there. But I just wanted to let you know, show you that in April, then Pence was here in Midland, right here, meeting with oil companies, and very possible some of them oil companies had people at the oil show. I feel real sure about that. Okay, I wondered if underground parties where they murder young girls who refuse to prostitute was mentioned on this visit. I'm sure the oil companies throwing those parties don't want the public to know the truth about the rapes and murders going on. And I have a video, and I'm not going to play that video, but many people have saw it, called 2010 Oil Show Party. I believe there's enough evidence in there that could lead to the arrest of the people that murdered that little girl. You know, my friend was at that party. She told me about it. And then I tried to get her to report it, and she was afraid and said high-level police were there. And then I get threatened by a police officer, and I'm trying to get her to report a murder that police were involved in. And then 2 years later, I'm shot and ambushed in my home, find pictures on my security camera, of the police here. I can't get them identified. Okay. So next person here, this woman, she says, Pence is a well-known predator of children. Well, and according to this Timothy Homesmith guy. And I said, I have no evidence suggesting that Pence was here for the pedophile parties that I was told about on the phone call. Of course, no investigation has been done, so we really don't know how many people were there on the night I was shot, the week of the 2010 oil show, and most likely many other times too. And so what I have here, a woman earlier this year said, go to Google Maps. Y'all can all do this. Go to Google Maps, put in my address, 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, and you go to the block map, and then you switch over the sat map, and what you see is in my backyard is a large facility that can't be seen. It's not seen from above ground, okay? I'm suspecting this is one of the 4 3-bedroom underground homes that I was told about on the phone call, and where I believe that the famous oil show parties were going on, and where that young girl was murdered at. That big building right there behind it is the back of Home Depot. Has a huge parking lot in front of it, And so y'all can all go look at that. I mean, that's where we're going, hey, I suspect this is one of the places, right? This might be where that little girl was murdered. It's a source of, I believe the capital murder attempt in my life, the suspected murder of the last homeowner, and that little girl. Okay. So next one. A few months later, I posted a story to my Facebook called Artesia Suspects, which was based on the recorded phone call from the woman that told me about the underground facilities and pedophile party. She said it was connected with a person that lived in a town near Hobbs, New Mexico that started with an A. She couldn't remember the name of the town. And that's in this video, $1 Million Underground Facilities, is that phone call secretly recorded. That's the one where she told me that they were having pizza or pedophile parties down there, that it was 4 3-bedroom homes, 25 foot deep, each cost $1 million apiece. But she also said something about a guy in this town over there that I believe is Artesia, New Mexico. Okay. And this is this is 2 minutes ago, and I'm reading you something I hadn't even read. This Christy Collins says, I lived in Artesia from 2011, 2018. I watched them refurbish the underground school there, and then they started having trainings in that building. Also witnessed construction being done with huge drainage tubes being placed underground near the FLETC. Very interesting town there. Okay. And so one thing I did, just so everybody here could understand, I went to Google Maps, and I got a map just to show you. We're in what's called the Permian Basin oil field. Okay, largest oil field in the world. Incredible wealth. You can imagine. This is Trump and what's over in Saudi Arabia. And you can see here's Midland. Okay. And 100 miles away here's Hobbs, okay? And so that's where I was born and raised, and I was transferred to Midland from Hobbs. And like I said, so that's an hour and a half drive here in the oil field. That's not far at all. And then over here is Artesia, okay? There's Artesia, so right outside, 70 miles outside of Hobbs. My youngest daughter lives there. And so you can see how all this is the same oil field is really what it is. And then also interesting, Carlsbad's over here. And one reason I want to show you Carlsbad here is because here at the same year that I was reporting people in the attic, and then I'm shot with burglar alarms going on my attic, this news story come on. Carlsbad woman, here we go.
Carlsbad woman is facing charges after police say she burned down her home to get rid of someone who she claimed was in the attic. Valerie Hernandez has been charged with arson now. So y'all can watch that, and I've got videos on that, and this story is not about that. But what I want to tell you is that, I reported somebody in my attic first time in January 2011. A year later, after many, many more crimes, I'm ambushed and shot with burglar alarms going off my attic. Well, when I hit the floor after they pulled the trigger and cut my phone lines and tried to kill me, I didn't have proof of homeowners all over the place reporting people in the attic. But I do now. I mean, all over Midland, Odessa, Texas, and across the nation. This is, I believe, a human trafficking ring. Okay. And so moving on.
Marbob sold for 1.65 billion. That town would be Artesia, and the richest person in New Mexico lives there, who sold this company for $1 billion to Concho Resources right here in Midland, Texas. And who would be Mac Chase, if you want to look that up. And I believe his partner, John Gray, and I didn't even put it in here, but I know when I was searching the deed history for the homes in my cul-de-sac, I believe a John Gray owned a home directly across the street from my home, and at 3805. And so somebody could verify that. But I'm not saying Mac Chase, John Gray, or was involved in this, or these companies were. I'm just stating some facts and asking questions, okay? And so this is a news article. Midland, Texas-based oil company Concho Resources continued its conquest of the Pecos Valley oil patch on Tuesday, acquiring Artesia's Marbob Energy for $1.65 billion. And the reason, I just randomly picked a company at Artesia because it's the wealthiest person in New Mexico, lives over there. And I was told on that phone call, somebody over in New Mexico, and I know that company was sold to a company here in Midland, okay? And then here's my next little comment. The woman on the phone told me there were 4 3-bedroom underground homes. So if one is in my backyard, like I showed y'all, then that leaves 3 others. I've suspected that one of those other underground homes might be located at a home around the corner on Westmont Court. That home had the same mortar problem that my home had, and I was told by a contractor that was caused by a foundation problem, also known as tunneling underneath it. The owner of this home just happens to be a safety director for Concho Resources. That's the company that bought it. Interestingly, Rhonda Denman Rogers told me the underground facility was a half block away, and that home is a half block away. Y'all seen that a second ago in that video, a screenshot of that. Okay, now this is the Google Maps view, and so there are a lot of things here. One, I'm showing the parking lot in front of Home Depot, and and a clerk at Home Depot told me, says, if you see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, then it's because we're stalking. I hadn't thought about that, and I took it as a clue. And maybe the people at the oil show parties and at the party here on the night I shot was parking in that parking lot, possibly going in Home Depot and going underground. Directly behind Home Depot, it looked like there was a tunnel cut right here. Can you see where the asphalt's a different color? Looks like a ditch was cut, base coming directly towards my home, okay? And then in my backyard of my home is where it looks like that underground facility was located, okay? And then there looks like another one. That's where they were pouring concrete. I got a video of that after we went back there with Homeland Security, and I showed them this, and I told them all these stories and provided all this evidence. I mean, human trafficking, that's what they're supposed to stop. But Homeland, was asking me how come I hadn't sold my house. Unbelievable. I have a text, a print screen of a text message, and but the other thing I want to show here is this is the house on Westmont Court. Now remember, Rhonda Denman Rogers said, I know the underground facility is a half block away, and my home's here. I'm going to back off, and then over here is the home on Westmont Court with the pool. Okay, that home had the same mortar problem that my home had, which I was told that was caused by a foundation problem. And so if mine had a foundation problem, i.e. it was tunneled under, maybe this one was tunneled under, maybe in that empty lot there, then there's another one of them underground facility. That still leads to, and that's a lot of maybes, but I'm just throwing it out there. Now some of this was really about Pence, though, right? The vice president. 4 hours after I posted this story, Vice President Pence announced that he was traveling to the tiny town of Artesia, New Mexico. All the while, I live under a death threat after surviving a premeditated, for-profit capital attempted murder that corrupt police were involved in. And I didn't get it here, but I have multiple screenshots of the death threats I got. One guy says, "We know where you live. We have access to your residence all times. You will be silenced, not if, but when." And I write back, "When are you going to murder me, Lance?" Another guy says, "You got 2 choices. You either move or you meet God early." And another guy says, 2 weeks later, Buddy Webb nowhere to be found. Over and over and over. They keep coming. But anyway, here's a recent Facebook post. August 15th, Artesia, New Mexico suspects. And that's what I was telling you. I did this. That was based on that phone call. And I have a link to the phone call in there. And I'm showing the same maps there. And I'm even showing a picture of that home there see, it's whitewashed. That's how they repaired their mortar problem. And I'm showing there the empty lot next to it. And then here's the deed history for my cul-de-sac showing where John Gray, owned a home across the street. But then, okay, keep in mind at 6:49 a.m. on August 15th, when that's dated, at 11:28 a.m. August 15th, Vice President Mike Pence announces that he's traveling to Artesia, New Mexico. What a coinky dinky, ain't it? 4 hours after I posted that, and Vice President Pence, that come down here and met with the oil companies, right? And all the while, I'm getting death threats and people breaking my house, and Homeland Security asking me how come I hadn't moved. Okay, so, and then the next point. This failed for-profit murder was followed by nightmarish medical crimes of intentional maiming, mutilation, and dismemberment. There's a recent video I did called Dr. Glass's Wife. I showed this to a nurse at my doctor's office the other day. She's blown away. Anybody that watches this will be blown away. I turned this evidence over to the Texas Medical Board in 2015, and they told me to be patient, and it was sent to the Enforcement Division, and we're still waiting. I turned this evidence over to the FBI and recorded an FBI agent telling me he was going to shred the evidence. The evidence of this falsified x-rays, it's triple proof. There is no doubt about it. And it's believed that they took the x-rays of a guy shot 11 days before me and put my name on it. That guy was missing his heel bone, so they took me into surgery and they cut my heel bone out. You can watch that video. I did have a link on this. Even with undeniable proof, there has not been a single news story in the nation as the crimes have been allowed to continue day after day. I did put a link of some of these death threats. Fast forward 2 weeks, and Mr. Buddy Wayne Webb's nowhere to be seen, okay? This guy says he's going to call, have a wellness check on me. He's going to wind up in a hole, okay? They gonna get the snitch, right? And you know, and I did a Facebook post on that other day. A snitch I always thought was somebody that bought dope off their dealer and then they got busted and then they turned around and snitched on their dealer. I didn't think it was a snitch was somebody that reported people that were raping and murdering children, people that are breaking in homes and killing one homeowner after another. I don't call that a snitch. I call that a good citizen. And here's Lance Eggleston. You will be silenced, not if, but when. Okay. And here's another one, Tracy McClure, talking about checking my vents or checking the air or something, which you know, I've got videos. I've been gassed, I've been drugged, you know, I've been poisoned, everything else in the world. You know, they really want me out of this house because the murder failed. They were going to get the house for free, and God saved my life, and I crimed out. Okay, here's Debbie. She posts, Trump's now trying to get Mike Pence impeached. That's Politics USA. That was another article. And then we're getting down to the end of it. Nancy Rich, from what I heard, the parties you speak of are probably thrown in his honor, in Mike Pence's honor. And she's talking about the pedophile parties. And so I wrote, the wild parties that go on during the week of the Permian Basin International Oil Show are famous, and I've heard about them all my life, as anybody from this area has. It brings people in from all over the world with incredible wealth, and prostitution at major conventions is common, but that only happens one week every other year. I wasn't shot during one of these times, so it's possible one of the pedophile parties were going on, which I recorded the woman on the phone telling me about. The ex-wife told me in so many words that a lot of people were here when I shot, so I believe some event was happening. I checked the news for things that might bring people to town, and I found that the city of Midland was holding a developers conference on the 2 days before the murder attempt. I believe that we got a Saltgrass Steakhouse, apartment complexes, and a Synergy Theater out of the meetings. It was over 50 real estate developers here meeting with our chamber and city council, and even included the then Secretary of State Hope Andre. The question had been asked if some of these people stayed around for some underground fun and then became a party to a capital attempted murder. It'd be easy to check flight and motel records. And so I went online and I found the schedule to this Midland Developers Conference. Okay, that was held Thursday and Friday, and I'm shot on Saturday. Okay, and they didn't end until 2 o'clock Friday afternoon. So did they all fly back Friday night, or did they stay over? That was the question. And you can see the schedule here. It opened up with the mayor at the time, Wes Perry, and I've done Facebook posts on that. Interestingly, Mayor Wes Perry was in business. His business partners was Rupert Murdoch, Sir Jacob Rothschild, and Vice President Dick Cheney. They were drilling for oil and the Golan Heights. Okay, Secretary of State Hope Andre. Now, do you think that would be embarrassing if the Secretary of State was in an underground facility under my house and there was a capital attempted murder? You think that think they'd try to hide that, cut off the leg of the crime victim? Courtney Sharp, Jim Nichols, Tracy Dow. These are all Midland people. Dr. Rex Peebles, Lori Vincent, Carr Ingram, Aaron Farmer, Galen Gatton. I would be asking these people what they know about an underground facility. Bobby Burns, Janice Havens, Jeff Benson, Robert Randall, Laura Roman, Craig Farmer, Councilman John James. Okay, and so all of these people were at this developers conference, and like I said, the questions asked because we're looking for something that would bring people into town. The ex-wife told me a lot of people were here. Okay, there's 2 articles. There's one here, the Midland Reporter Telegram on January 22nd. Keep in mind I shot on January 28th, and y'all can go back and look this up. 45 developers from out of town. 70% from out of this area. So there's a whole bunch of people, and you can go read all these names of these people that were in Midland. Okay, and so then, as I said, did they fly back, or you know, you got $1 million underground facility here? Did they stick around for some underground fun and they got caught up? Some people even wondered if this wasn't set up to be blackmailed, you know, because now they could be charged if they're on my property and I'm shot, then they'd be charged just like the shooter, right? Unless they reported this violent crime to law enforcement as required by law. I mean, and you know, unless there's a special law saying that they don't have to follow the law, and I don't think there is. I think we all supposed to follow the same set of laws. Okay, so so y'all can go watch that, and then I think the big thing here.
I asked them about the pizza parties. They said they're not called pizza parties, but I know what you're talking about.
Right, the pedophile parties.
Yes.
And see, a couple of weeks, you probably read all this before, but a couple of weeks after I got out of the hospital, that ex-wife comes by my home and she says, "You don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy." And of course, my idiocy was staying home and minding my own business. You know, I'm shot inside my home. And but what she was saying was a lot of people were here, and they're going to have their lives ruined. And
do you know about how many feet that gun pushed through?
That
ground it was, because he said that these houses are 25 feet under, at least 25 exactly.
So, and she actually, that was the short version. She went on to tell me that there was 4 3-bedroom underground homes. That's where I believe the parties were going on. What's in my backyard, where the little girl was murdered, connected to the murder of the last homeowner, connected to the capital murder attempt of my life. And now we're trying to figure out who's involved, who was there, who's involved in the cover up. And the question asked is, how come President Trump and Vice President Pence have not got down to the bottom of this? And so there it is.